The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Thursday, the 7th day of March, 2024. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical Office Windows, and the People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamal Hartman. He's Larry Marshall Jr. And Maya Palacio is going to be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Larry, it's Thursday, man. I think I'm going to put you on the spot. I think this is the first time you've ever been on 3 times in 1 week.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Maybe I tell you, life changes when you start getting sleep.
I'm just going to say it, bro. I think you like us a bit more now. I think you like us a bit more. At first I didn't think you liked us, but I think
I'm tolerated you since I was about 13, so I guess I could hang around with you a little more in front of people. I actually let people know that I hang around you too.
I was talking about my hand damn. I already talking about me. Going from her teacher to whatever. But nah, man, hey, it's great to have you on more. And so I want to say this. Last night, a couple things. 2 days ago, Instagram and Facebook shut down, right? And I had a good laugh, because I don't use Instagram and Facebook as much as LinkedIn and Twitter. But the memes on Twitter, I meant to send them to everybody. The memes on Twitter by Elon Musk were just hilarious.
Yeah.
Like this guy was trolling. Like he's like, what was it? He said, something tells me a lot of unusual people are here right now or something. Like he was just trolling. But I absolutely think when Instagram and Facebook go down, it's an opportunity to reset, man.
Yeah.
Seriously. I think, you scroll Facebook, you see people posting like 5 times a day, every day. I'm just like, hey, it's
I like to take a break from it. And I know when it happened, Wednesday? No, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So I have it linked to my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know my password. It's linked to an email that I don't know. So if I lose it, that's it. I was like, oh man, I'm lost everything. And then I was like, okay. And then somebody said, oh, it's dawn. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess this worked out. So I'm back in action, everybody.
But that's the thing. Like that's like my MySpace page. Like it was linked to an email address. I don't even remember what the email address was, right? So let alone password. But
hey, remember MySpace? Throwback Thursday today, folks.
Yeah, there you go. Real quickly, last night, if you missed it, folks, there was a very important conversation that I had with the Information Commission of Bermuda, and she broke down a lot of stuff you need to know. I would encourage you to go to ico.bm and check it out, or you can go to their YouTube channel at ICO Bermuda. No one has an excuse or a reason not to know how to hold their government to account as it relates to their monies and their funds. We appreciate the job Maya does, but you shouldn't have to wait until one of her news broadcasts to find out a lot of information. She's, gracious enough to get enough to put the amount of time she does into these news stories to ensure that you have the information. But folks, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, check that conversation out. And Suzanne Ingham says, awesome Thursday, Jamel, Larry, and Maya, and a happy Thursday to you as well. Amber M, we say good morning to you. And somebody's actually happy to see Larry again. That's not normal. Good to see you again. Anyway, greetings, everyone. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome another Bermudian Olympian, DeVon Bean. He is a national record holder in Bermuda, and he'll tell us what he holds that record in. So looking forward to a great conversation with him a bit later. The daily play is a name that place. Yeah, it's going to be a little geography. Name that place. All right. Let me see. I honestly don't remember. There's 5 questions on this card. Literally 5 questions on this card. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say to Larry, question 1 through 5, you just give me a number and we'll ask one of the questions. How's that?
You want me to answer that? No.
No. You do it then.
Okay.
Do it then. All right. Folks, if you haven't already, please subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. And as Mark Arthur C. Phillips says right here, when you hit the like button, subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right? All right. So let's jump into today's conversation. If you follow us on Instagram or Twitter, you may have seen the question yesterday. And the question on our Twitter was, obviously I forget, which is why I said was and hesitated. So give me a second. It was, do you tip on top of gratuities when you visit restaurants that include grats? Well, let me tell you where that question is coming from. Gratuitous legislation comes into effect. Now, this is from our friends at the Royal Gazette. Legislation to ensure the fair distribution of tips and gratuities to restaurant employees comes into effect today. Now, that was March 1st. The Ministry of Economy and Labor has warned. The Employment Protection of Employees, Tips, and Other Gratuities Amendment Act 2023 will prohibit employers, directors, and shareholders from being included in their business's tip pool unless they regularly perform in the same task that employees within the tip pool perform. All right. So Jason Hayward, the minister, said, as the ministry continues working to strengthen the protections afforded to employees and workers in Bermuda, I'm confident the new law, guidance, and policy template will positively impact Bermuda's workforce, ensuring all employees receive their fair share of tips and other gratuities. All right, I'm going to stop there. Stop there and just put the question of the morning out to you. All right. What are your thoughts on the employers, directors, and shareholders being prohibited from being included in their business's tip pool, right? Just straight from the Gazette. What are your thoughts on that? But before we even get in that, we had a poll on Instagram, and I'll have to check Instagram. I'm not sure if the replies are up, but I'll have to check. We had a couple of questions on there, and as well as Twitter. And that question, and audience, feel free to answer this. I'm going to be honest, ain't no judgment. There's no judgment in this space. So let's just be very honest. Do you tip on top of gratuities when you visit restaurants? Do you tip on top of the gratuities when visiting restaurants?
Depends. If the service, so I have a background story. Years ago, I've always been a tipper. I, pack groceries, so I understood about tipping and stuff like that. And I was at a group event in Bermuda. And I was like, after, the bill comes, I was like, so how much we're tipping? And people was like, what you mean? It's already included. And I was like, yeah, but we tip, right? And out of, I want to say 12 people, I was the only one willing to tip. And I found it very strange. And then I came to realize that was the norm in Bermuda. So it changes, obviously, when, it doesn't tip when I travel. That's different. But if it's excellent service, I will tip more. A gentleman one time down in Wahoo, he just was awesome. And we just both was like, yeah, we're tipping more. You know what I mean? So I think right now it just depends. It is a different economic climate in Bermuda than say 5, 6, 7 years ago. So tipping is not as much. I used to always give out $1 or $2, no matter what the grocery packer did. But now you gotta do it, I cut back.
I want to share something because you brought up the grocery packers. I love how you just did that because that's where I was going with it. I think I have this issue with tipping, and I'm known to be an over tipper. The reason I'm known to be an over tipper is because I'm trying to make up for an industry and I'm not speaking about Bermuda, but the United States of America, where corporations literally guilt you into tipping because they don't pay their staff enough. That's what I think in the US.
Yeah.
Give you an example. Coming up in Bermuda, gratuities were included. I thought that went to the server. It doesn't. It's shared amongst staff within, right? But when you do that, gratuitous plus the tip, you're literally getting people to pay 3 times, and people don't think of it like that. You are paying 3 times. You're paying for your meal, then you got the grats coming out, and then you're tipping. That's literally what you're doing. But I think the US is a bit worse because I'll never forget, back in the day, a freshman in college. So I could tell this story now and not feel, bad. But where did we all go after the nightclub in college in the US? We usually went to IHOP or Waffle House, right? Well, it was IHOP for us in Huntsville, Alabama. And we were Bermudian college kids. We didn't really know about tipping and whatnot. And, some guy came out, gave a lecture. They only make $2 an hour. They make their money off their tips and whatnot. And from that point on, I started like over tipping. Like when I say over tipping, traditionally it was 15, 18%. I was at 20% long before most people are over that, right? But then I think about it and it's like, hold on, we're being guilted into tipping a person, not because of the great service, which we should always receive, but because corporations are underpaying their staff. Again, I'm using US context. I have a problem with it in the United States, the way it operates. Because then you go out and you're at a bar and the bartender's like, oh, they only tip me such and such. Take that same attitude with your employer.
Yeah.
They're tipping you based on the service that you provided. If you only provided $10 worth of good service, then that's what they should be giving you. A tip should be based on the job that you. I went out with a boy. He allows me to tell the story as long as I don't say his name. ESPN DAZN had a restaurant in Times Square. One year we were in New York City. We went out to this restaurant. And I said to him, I said, bro, did you used to date this woman? Because she was treating us really horrible. But again, you never know what people's going through. So I was like, nope, whatever. So anyway, it was his time to pay. So I said, oh, you're not tipping him? And he said to me, this is his words, not mine. And it was a lesson in life. He said, I don't reward bad behavior.
Yeah.
He said, I don't reward bad behavior. Think about it. Let's go to the audience because I'm sure a lot of people have a lot to say about this. Amber M says, people who don't provide services shouldn't be tipped. I think that's what my boy was saying, actually. He was like, look, I'm
torn on that one. I must say, I'm torn on that one. Provide services. You mean like just the, like the people
who serve, like the waiter or waitress.
Okay, what about the people who provide the meal, who's preparing the meal? Yes?
Yeah. Well, I think she's talking about the person who's providing the service to you. Or no. She could be talking about everyone who receives grats.
Can you clarify that, Amber, please?
Yeah. Explain that to us. Sorry about that. Rikai says, I always tip on top of grats. And me too. I do. I don't, but I think for me, I do it in Bermuda because that's what I'm used to. In the US, I have a problem tipping, although I always over tip because I feel like we're being guilted into making up for cheap employers.
So this is where you made the comparison before you got to the grocery packers. That's what I guess.
Oh, yes. And so grocery packers, for instance, thank you, Bart, for saying that. The reason I think I tip on top of grats in Bermuda is because I was a grocery packer. I go to market and I get 2 things in a bag when I'm in Bermuda or Linda's, wherever I go. They have those cards now because I don't carry cash. And I say, can you put $2 on whatever, the card for me or whatnot? They ask me that.
And that's wrong. But anyway.
What's wrong?
The cards of the business, they're making you get paid in the business and you have to spend that money back at the business. So the money guaranteed to stay in the business.
That's how it works?
Yes. If they was to redeem and give the people cash, if that happens, somebody let me know. But to my understanding, that money has to be spent at the store or the establishment.
Okay. Interesting. Kellen Williams says, when I was working for Sargasso, I was tipping the merchants. Interesting. Charles H. Jeffers II says, yes, I usually take it up to 20%. What do you mean? You mean if the Gretz is 18%, then you just tip the 2% extra? I don't know what that means.
Or do you do 20 on top of the Gretz?
Or is he saying 20 on top of the Gretz? Like, I don't know what that means because of the question. Ebony Souza says, I've always thought that model was unfair and a cheapskate tactic to money grab and avoid paying fairly. Luckily, the spaces I've worked in have never followed this. And Suzanne Ingham says, yes, Larry, depends on the service. Amber M says, American tipping system is a scam. The way that people go about it is also not cool at all. No, I think that's how I feel, Amber. I think it's very scammy. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's very scammy. Ray Kai said, not exactly. It depends on which restaurant it is. Many times the Gretz or the lion's share of the Gretz go to the server or bartender.
Okay.
Ray Kai said, I asked about that, but Marketplace only gives them the Marketplace gift. Oh, interesting. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Amber provided some more context. People in the kitchen, bar, service, hostess should be tipped. Everyone else, what are we tipping them for? That's what she meant. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
So my question to Charles is, you're saying if the included tip is 17%, I add 3%. For the
That's what she means.
and we discussed this last night. Language is important. Are you speaking of the gratuity or the tip? Because as I've learned recently, they're two different things. So are you saying if there's 17% gratuity, then you just give a 3% tip? We've got language is important here. It is. I'm not trying to be an ass. It's important here.
So yeah, I got you.
The tip goes to the person that served me. The gratuity goes to everyone.
Everyone that's in the pool.
So I'm asking.
But sometimes people, every piece of cash that's gathered is divvied up amongst the hostess, the people who prepare the food, and everything else. Yeah,
Okay.
this restaurant industry.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Usually we have some restauranters in the audience.
Ebony did, and she commented on.
Restaurateurs mean the owners.
Oh, okay.
But I'd love to hear from a restaurant owner. I'd love to hear their opinion on this because this conversation is not to trash them. It's to understand it. And I think my experience mainly has been in the US. I understand the Bermuda context. So I need you, the audience from a Bermuda context, to really speak to it because I can't do that as much. But let's go to the question of the morning, folks, is what are your thoughts on the employers, directors, and shareholders being prohibited from being included in their business's tip pool? Let's go because we had the poll on Twitter. So on Twitter, we asked, do you tip on top of gratuities when you visit restaurants? So 43.6% said yes, they do. 20.5% said no. And 35.9% says depends. So that's more than 50% who didn't say yes.
Yeah. Can I bring up a point, Jamal?
Yeah.
It's not so much on this, but this is what I appreciate from the politician. This is what I want to see more of, getting legislation done to protect the employee, to make things better for the employee. I think we can all agree if you're just an earner hanging around and working a shift and you're getting your money or you're putting your hand in the pot, that's not right. And I think these are the types of things legislatively that needs to happen more than just photo ops or trying to figure out what new businesses are. Let's get our legislations better.
Okay. And I appreciate you doing that because sometimes you got to give credit where it's due, right? For addressing things like this. Now, Ebony Souza said the language isn't always the case. We add gratuity to the bill that isn't pooled, which is what I believe you're describing as tips. It depends on the business, it seems.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
Okay. All right. So Instagram, right? Same question asked, right? The question was, do you tip on top of Gretz when you visit a restaurant? And on Instagram, it's even lower. 27% said always, 15% said never, 58% said sometimes. But there's more context to it on Instagram. And thank you, Amber, for this. We've got someone saying the quality of service.
Yeah.
Right? Because the question on there was, tell us why, right? So the quality of service is important. Someone said exceptional service from attendant, and I want to show them I'm pleased the tip I give them. Well, I can't see that entire comment. Someone says the service was outstanding. They'll tip it. Someone says working in the service industry for over 20 years, you understand that is their only guaranteed money. Someone says if it was something I was taught to do, is learned behavior. Learned behavior. And that's why I say, Larry, that me being Bermudian, I overtip in the US, right? Because I'm just like, having started as a grocery packer and then just being in that industry and understanding it.
Yeah.
And then that experience very young on at IHOP, it makes sense. Someone says, I do, but I feel forced. Well, I do feel forced in the US because you feel like, man, this person's doing a great job serving me, knowing that they're only getting this amount of money. Like, yeah, you want to almost overtip. All right. Someone else says, only if the server provides exceptional service. Another says, depends on service and funds. Another says, if the service is exceptional, I like to reward the server directly. Grats are split amongst many people. Another person says, I understand that the person isn't earning a lot, but providing a service. So I appreciate them. Another says, if the service is exceptional, good service. So I think there's, a lot to do with excellent service. If I know that the tips are being split. Here's what
I have a question. What about if the service is bad?
Well, I think that
I wanted to take the grats back. Service bad and food bad.
Well, first off, I don't think that grats should be included. That's another story. Maybe that's a question. Audience, do you think gratuities should automatically be included? Yes or no? Do you think grats should automatically be included? I don't think they should. Because again, at that point, you're paying the company twice. Yep. The third time comes when you tip. And I'm not trying to crap on people or the industry, but it is what it is. If you really sit down and remove your bias from the situation, you're paying for it 3 times, right? So I have a problem with the law of allowing grats to be included.
I get that.
Angeline Butler says, I definitely overtip and no grats should be included. Let's bring Maya Palacio in for daily on news break. We've got DeVon Bean coming up as well. He says, I tip. He says he tips. So interesting conversation. A lot going on within government. Bert, you think Maya's a good tipper?
Yes. I don't know why. Maya seems like a tipper.
Okay. Griselda Sovereign, real quickly, she says, is it true that you can opt out of grats if you're not pleased?
I think it's a process for some places, and I don't know if it's worth it. Sometimes my time's not worth the thing, so I'm just like, never. And I've only once or twice, I want to say, where I really felt that I shouldn't want to tip.
All right.
Or pay grats, rather. Get my language.
In my experience, gratuity and tip are the same thing. If a meal's on 100 and there's a $15 tip, gratuity included, I had 5 tip. But that's not the reality, though, is it? That's your experience, but not the reality. As said, the gratuity goes to everyone. The way people are speaking about tip as if they're giving it cash directly. Yeah. That's why I'm saying language is your experience versus what the reality. Let's real quickly. Amber M says, I don't mind grats being included because it makes it fair for the rest of the staff that contributed to my dining experience, not just her. But that's on the company. That's my point. That should be on the company. Grats should be included if people are paid right. And then allow the server to make theirs. All right, let's bring Maya in before Larry gets in trouble for the Daily Hour News Break.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, MP. How are you today?
I'm feeling pretty good today. How about you guys?
Great. So, real quickly, Larry said you're cheap. He said you don't tip much.
You know, I heard Marshall in the back.
Oh, you were listening.
Anyway, yes, Marshall, I do tip. I tend to tip. I feel like Jemima, I know you say you overtip, but I don't think I overtip except for when it comes to maybe like getting like if I ever get my nails done or pedicure done and those type of services, like I feel like I overtip because like personally I would never want to do that. So like that's how I kind of like think of it in my mind. I don't know, but yeah, so those services I overtip, but restaurants, regular tip. I do like to give cash if I can. And when it comes to the students that pack groceries, I do the same thing, Jamal. Like I would, or even whoever's packing groceries, seniors as well. I'll put on the card if they want me to. I was like, you want cash or want to add? Because like, I have these coins, or I could put $2 on your card. Which one do you want? Like I normally ask, and then normally they want to be put on the card because everyone's gonna shop and get food regardless, and it's easy when where you work.
But question to you, like, do you guys? Because I know I asked it in the TDH group one time when I had movers, right? I'm like, how much do I tip them, right? I'm usually with a restaurant or a service, bartender, whatever. I usually do 20 to 22%, 25 most. But I'm like, well, do I tip? Let me use my barber, for instance. My haircut's $30. Every week I go, I give him $40, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, somebody found out I was doing it. Why are you giving him 25%? I'm like, what is the difference between giving him 25% and serving a restaurant? You feel me? Yeah. No, maybe that is over tipping.
I just recently, I want to say in the last 8 years, started tipping my barber. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know.
He still lined you up nicely all them years?
Yeah, they, you know.
Let's take a chunk out of crime, right? Here's the thing, though, and this is what I realized about Bermudians do not take, if you take offense, who cares? But I've noticed that we only know what we know when it comes to it.
Yeah.
I had a guy worked in tourism with me for the Bermuda Tourism Authority. And this guy literally made a Facebook post about a cab driver, including the tip in New York City. And I'm just like, you're in this industry. How do you not understand? And there was this video going around that shows you how to address tipping in different jurisdictions. I was literally embarrassed for Bermuda because this guy went on Facebook and acted as if the cab driver was wrong because they started at 20%. And he must have said to the cab driver in his own post, yeah, if I want to tip, I'll tip you. Don't include it. So I think it's an education thing. It's an understanding thing.
I feel like it's very personal too, and whatever you think morally is right. Like, I don't think anyone really has a scale of like what it is across the board that everyone kind of picks and selects. I just feel like it's our own like experiences and maybe what we like, what we appreciate more, what we don't, what we think is more valuable than others. Like, I really think it's what we kind of think of in our head.
Part of that is education, though. It's like we don't know what we don't know. Like, I wouldn't have known, like, for instance, case in point, you guys buy your barber like a gift or give him something for the Christmas or the holidays?
I have.
I
know a couple of my friends that will like buy like iced lattes or whatever for the people that do their nails before they come in the mornings. Like if they have an early appointment, like, oh, I'm gonna grab a coffee, I'll grab you one too. Like, you know, those type of things.
I'll say this. I know you've got your news to do. We've got DeVon Bean coming up as well. But I want to say this. When I went to my 40th birthday, I went to St. Lucia and we did all these activities. I think the only black people were there. Big boss, white Americans mainly. After the tour is done, all of the tour guides stand around and wait for a tip. Who do you think was the only person to tip them? That's the kind of crap I don't like. That's where I say education. If you're going to travel and you're going to go to spaces, learn about those spaces. That's all I would say. I know we got to do one. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour News brought to you by the great people at People's Pharmacy. So starting out your news this morning, a drug seizure arrest occurred. So this happened on Sunday, March the 3rd. Police arrested 2 foreign nationals at the LF8 International Airport after customs officers discovered the visitors had in their possession a large quantity of what is believed to be the controlled drug cocaine. Now, a police spokesperson stated that drug smugglers go to great lengths to conceal drugs when entering our borders. We will continue to collaborate with our partners at our ports of entry to improve existing security and detection measures and protect our community. The items have been submitted to the government. Analysis for testing and investigation to the seizure has now begun.
Yeah, good work. Good work on our borders. And let's keep this nonsense off our streets. That's all I'll say about it.
A question for you guys. When is International Women's Day?
On tomorrow. It's March 8th, right?
Yes, correct.
Hold on. Can I get some love, ladies?
Marshall was real quiet over there. Well, this year...
I didn't know.
Well, this year's theme is inspired inclusion. Over the course of the week, the public service will host a series of activities which will aim to shine a spotlight on important roles women play in the government of Bermuda. So you could take a look right here if you want to take a read or a screenshot of what's going on. But basically, today, March 7th, Minister Tanae Furbert, who is also the Minister for Gender Affairs, will host a lunch table talk with future leaders and Youth Parliament female members. Now, tomorrow, March 8th, women from the Uniformed Services, Customs, Police, Corrections, and Fire, will greet commutes at the Paget Crow Lane roundabout. But what's even more interesting is later on, there'll be a panel discussion streamed internationally to the public service, which will feature female officers who have been the first in their career. So panelists include like the head of public service, Cherie Witter, Cindy Clark, who's the first female Bermudian director of public prosecution, Tammy Ray, who's Bermuda's first female senior Barry Masters, and others.
I'm sorry, I was just distracted by Minister of Gender Affairs. Didn't know that was a thing, but continue.
Yes, I reported that. I think it was last year they came up with that committee.
I know, it slipped me.
That's all right. All right. So in other news, this one's definitely for all the farmers, agricultural workers out there. But the Minister of Home Affairs, Walter Raban, confirmed that there will be allocated $500,000 in the 2024 budget for the much-awaited Agricultural Service Center. Now, you may recall that some of the farmers are talking about this center way back when it was the Farmers and Fishermen, and they had the very first gathering. It was at a different location, came out, but it was the very first gathering. It was over 100 of them. I went out and I shared it with you guys. The first time the fishermen actually spoke up about the concerns they had with government. Now, in that, statements and talk, they actually spoke about this center and how it's basically decrepit and breaking down, and they don't even trust it to freeze their anything. So the minister says that once completed, the new center will continue to support our local farming sector and strengthen Bermuda's food security. He went on agriculture-related services for registered farmers, including subsidized chill room storages for local grown crops, which is something that they definitely need, and ice supply for farmers and fishermen, packaging materials for crops, banana ripening, and everything that they could possibly need. Now, again, unfortunately, the age structure has a large failing asbestos cement roof that does not capture rainwater, and they go on to list a host of other concerns. But here's the thing. The $500,000 allocated represents only the first phase of what is supposed to be eventually $13.5 million in funds for this development.
I don't know. Maybe it's my conversation with the Information Commissioner for Bermuda, but I would love to see how that $500,000 is being allocated in terms of labor and materials and so on. Just me. Sorry.
Especially for the first phase, I'd like to know exactly how that's gonna, because as we know, for potholes as well, the amount that's actually needed versus what we're given right now is not what's going to help us.
There you go.
I think this is another case where over the years we've let things get out of control, and now it's costing us a lot to fix it.
Tell me about it.
Agreed. Now, in some sports-related news, though, signed, sealed, and she will deliver. Leilani Nesbitt has officially signed with the Chicago Red Stars. They posted on their Instagram the other day, and I do believe she's the first rookie actually to be signed to the Red Stars in their group. And they said that their contract with Nesbitt goes all the way through to 2026. Now, I had an interview with Leilani. You guys may remember it. Here's a small clip of some things that she actually talked about when it came to like this moment and what it means now to her to achieve this.
At the end of the day, now it's a job. Now you're fighting for a spot. You're fighting for a contract. You're fighting for, like to get your bills paid at the end of the day. Like now it's a business. Now it's a job. So it's definitely different, and it's scary. And, you got to take a big gulp when it comes to, like now this is my life. It's not, I'm managing homework on the side, or I still got a degree to obtain. It's like, no, now this is everything and all. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, hold on. It's nothing like when you're trying to do sports and you have financial security behind you. So congrats to her. Congrats to her family. This is a huge for her.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, Dawson Davis, when I used to go cricket games on there, they didn't have the air horn. They used to hit the call horn. You heard the horn last year. That wasn't an air horn. That was like a boat horn. So that's the
It's getting better. It's getting better. All right, so closing up my news break so you guys can bring in our Bermuda Olympian. So the weather today is looking generally like a lot more sun than cloud until the late afternoon. It might be a little bit windy, pretty strong. So again, just be mindful of that. But we've got a high of 72 today. So, it's going to be quite bright.
All righty. Larry, what you got for Disney or something good for us?
I did. I actually had one, and then I was reminded by my son Mason that today is World Book Day.
Ah,
And World Book Day at the school, they dress up as their favorite character in a book. He is a dinosaur today, and they actually asked the kids to donate a book. So have a read today, folks, to celebrate World Book Day,
you
which
know,
is in the middle of Read an Ebook Week.
you know what?
Book week. Oh my god.
You know, what's you guys' favorite book?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's corny. My favorite book is Jane Eyre. I'm really into 18th century, 19th century British lit. Right now, I'm reading a James Baldwin book.
I have two. Steve Prefontaine's autobiography or biography. He was a runner back in the 1970s, and Andre Agassi's autobiography.
Okay. Well, my favorite book for today.
I ain't gonna lie, that was funny.
Yeah. Hold on. My favorite book, Dad Jokes. I got a joke for you.
Bring it on.
Yay.
All right, everybody, here's your joke for the day out of my favorite book. Yeah, I can't read novels. I can't do one-liners. All right, here we go. Here's your joke of the day. What do you call someone with no body and no nose?
With no body and no nose.
Mhm.
Nobody knows.
Got it! Not that.
Oh, good. That was funny.
I guess we got it, so it's not funny.
And like you want a high five Marshall like in a distance. We're like, woo, we did it because we both got that.
You got a guest coming.
Don't be a hater.
You know, I heard a rumor about DeVon Bean. I heard a rumor, gentlemen. I just heard that he tips excessively. Did you see that? Yeah. Yeah. He's an excessive tipper too.
Okay, wife is out you out. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that as well. Maya, we'll see you soon.
See you soon. I'm excited for this conversation.
Bean coming up after this. Stick with us.
Bye.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Larry Marshall Jr. I am Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Please do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve the community. And as we always say, if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like, whatever platform you are watched or tuned in on. And make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues, because we have another very special guest coming up, another Bermuda Olympian. Please give a warm TDH welcome to my fellow excessive tipper, DeVon Bean. And we're going to make sure there ain't no booing going on here, all right? Welcome, sir. How are you? I think
Yes, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Bermuda. How are you guys this morning?
we're good. I think you were having too much fun at my expense just now, probably. But not laughing at my joke. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that was very hilarious, man. That was a good one.
Thank you. Because this is a tough crowd. But look, first off, did you? I mean, I heard you're an excessive tipper. That's just the rumors going around. What is tipping? Like people probably know you when you enter a space. Do you feel any added pressure to add something extra onto a bill?
I do not, only because I've worked in the hospitality industry before, and I know what goes on behind the scenes. And even though it's not a difficult job for training wise. It's, you know, you're waiting on somebody. You're offering a service, and if the service is good, and I mean, even if the service is not good, I still tip, probably not as excessively, but I do feel that jobs like that are underappreciated. If I can just divert to a program I saw one time on the Oprah Winfrey show. She was doing a special on fast food, people that work in the fast food industry and what it takes behind the scenes. Anyway, she went behind there. They showed her what was going on, and just known, one of her colleagues or somebody that worked at her studio came to the drive-through, and they were very upset because I don't know if they didn't get the fries, something was cold or whatever, and it was just running on and on. So when the person drove up to the window, they saw it was Oprah, and she was like, "Look, this is not as easy as you guys think it is. So, you know, do you mind coming back here and going through like a little training thing?" So obviously they put the person through their paces, and they put the person on the drive-through, and lo and behold, bro, they were messing up orders, running out, people's drink was left, and it was a great appreciation for a job like that, which might seem simple, but is very essential to everybody's everyday living.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because just at dinner this past weekend, and I was watching people in the restaurants like carry, you know, plates on their arms and so on. And I just have Steve Urkel tendencies, so that food would be all over the place before in no time. But I say that because it takes a special skill, and I don't think we value it enough because of the terms and the language that has always been used as lower skilled and the like. But I agree with everything you said. Sometimes people have to experience things to understand it, and I think, you know, Bermudians were lucky because we've always had that service industry. My only visit with the Bermuda contacts is I don't believe Brett should be included. But let's transition, because you're here to speak about something else. And you know, this was an Olympic year. I feel so out of place in this conversation because even though I ran a mile this morning, I mean, it's somewhere I just don't belong with two people who have done very well in athletics, especially track. But for those who don't know DeVon, just give people a bit of background about your journey as an athlete from your beginnings into college, and how you got to the space where you were performing at the highest stage.
Well, I started off basically like everybody in primary school, and I had the luck of the draw because my PE teacher at West End, go West End Warriors, do not close us. Thank you. Just putting it out there. Cal Simons was my PE teacher, and he noticed my talents at a very young age, and wasn't much convincing my parents because they also believed it. I had to believe it. I joined the Bermuda Pacers track club. He was my first coach, so I kudos to him for starting my journey. I then went on to Warwick Sac, another one of my schools that's closed. All my schools are closing. I had the pleasure of Mr. Jerry Swan of being my personal coach as well as my teacher. He kind of weathered the journey with me and put me through my paces through the Carifta level, World Junior Championships level, Junior Pan Am level, and on to university. I went to junior college in Long Beach. Shout out to LBCC for life. Long Beach Vikings in Long Beach, California. There is where I really tapped into all the knowledge Mr. Simons and Mr. Swan passed down to me. And just to back it up a bit, in 1992, I was the deputy head boy at Warwick Sac, and I gave a speech to my graduating class stating that I will be in the next Olympics. I didn't actually know how I was going to get there at the time, but that was 4 years prior. So it was one thing that I've always wanted to do is represent my country in the Olympics. And I saw that years prior, but something happened in 1992 that really made the penny drop. And I think it was Carl Lewis winning the long jump. I actually got up out of my bed and went for a long run. I was in Larry's territory. I went for a ran for a run dockyard, and there I told myself, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be in the next Olympics. And just so 4 years later, I was lined up against some of the people that I looked up to in Atlanta.
But let's take it back real quickly, because you did mention Carifta as well. And so many athletes who have made it big time got their start going through things like Carifta and Pam. As a track star, what do events like the Carifta Games mean for Bermudians in particular?
Well, those of you who don't know, Carifta is an age group championship. It's considered the best, or if not one of the best, age group championships in the world. And it's a gathering of all the French and English-speaking Caribbean countries that come together every Easter weekend to compete against one another. Two of our past forefathers in the Bermuda athletics history, Mr. Earl Hart and Randy Benjamin, were actually one of the founding members of Carifta. So Bermuda has a historical legacy that's attached to Carifta. We was one of the first countries to participate in Carifta. Bermuda has won Carifta twice in a matter of total medals. Back in 1975, I think in 80, we beat Jamaica in as far as total medal count. So we have a rich history with the family of Carifta and what it entails. It's sort of like a launching pad for athletes gaining international exposure, international competition, and basically all of the major universities are at Carifta trying to recruit their next stars.
Yeah, I honestly did not know that. That's a great launch pad, as you said. Audience, if you have any questions or comments for DeVon Bean, please send them through. We'll get through as many questions and comments as possible. Now, you said that in '92 at your graduation, you spoke of, you will be in the next Olympics, which was held in Atlanta. Speak to us about what went into training. And just for clarity, you were a sprinter. Just what were your specialties before we get into that question? What were your specialties?
Sprints and jumps. For whatever reason, friends of mine, including Mr. Marshall, we debate about this. Interestingly enough, I've had more success as a jumper, but I went through a period in my career where I just happened to run really fast. I would say I was a fast long jumper who knew how to sprint, if you want to put it that way. But I go back and forth with my university colleagues, my coaches, and so forth. And obviously, you gravitate towards the 100 meters because you're considered the fastest man in the world, the fastest in your country, or your school record holder. So you generally lean to that side. But I absolutely love the long jump.
So what went into the training for the Olympics, the '96 Atlanta Olympics for you? Like, how did you train, not just physically, but mentally? And what's the difference in training between the jumping and the sprinting?
Okay. Mentally, it was an adjustment because you're going from training here in Bermuda around peers that you kind of know what they're about. So it was a eye-opening experience for me when I went to Long Beach, because first few weeks, I would say maybe in the first year, I was in the second tier or second wave of jumpers / sprinters. Now leaving Bermuda, I'm the cream of the crop. So that was a eye-opening, and I was like, okay, I'm not as good as I think I am. So I had to really work hard, especially mentally, because I wasn't used to being in the back, and I was running my tail off. And I was like, I'm in the back. This shouldn't happen. This is what I'm saying to myself, because it wasn't embarrassing, but it was a gut check to me to say, hey, look, bro, you're just a little fish in this pond. You have to pull up your socks, as the old people say, elderly people. And I took it from there, and I just buckled down. And most athletes will know this. You have to be a selfish individual when you're trying to get to the top. Mr. Marshall could tell you. I've lost a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of friendships. Now, if you look at that, are they really your friends? Because you're trying to get to a common goal. And there was times where I've been invited to certain parties, gatherings, and I chose not to go. I've never had a spring break. I've never had a Christmas break, because even though track and field is mainly a summer sport, you're training all year round. You only have a certain amount of time where you have downtime, and you have to use every little bit of time to your advantage. So I was training twice a day. I was not used to getting up 5:30 a.m. to go lift in the weight room, then having to go class all day and then back out to the track and then night class. Sometimes I had night classes. So I had to really look in the mirror and say, if I want this to happen, then everything else, including relationships, must go to the side. So that's pretty much it, bro.
It's real quickly before you go in, Larry. I just want to say something that stood out, and I know Larry would say this. Whether it's Connor Smith or Dan Flora Duffy, there's a consistency amongst all of you who have made it to the top, right? And it's that key thing you just said about I lost friendships. I couldn't go to the family barbecues. I had to sacrifice the things that most Bermudians enjoy. That's something that, I mean, I remember, Larry, you telling me when you were in college and running, like, I don't think I could share some of the stories you said, but it's gruesome, some of it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think people see that. So because they don't see it, they won't appreciate it. And I just want to touch on something Larry said to me privately that I could share is it's almost like earlier this year when we had Debbie Jones Hunter on. And still to amazement, the amount of people responding to the post on Instagram. And I said to Larry, why isn't this, why don't we make more noise about this? And Larry, what did you say to me? If you don't remember. You said, because we only care about number one. Like gold medal. We don't care about the progress that was made. Like she literally was making history. She done things that we're like, no, we should be celebrating. But all we cared about is the thing that very few people get in life, right? And that's being that number one person.
Nobody remembers second place. Definitely not third. I mean, that's just the saying, right? So
yeah. It's interesting, and I'm grateful you brought up those things. I mean, you talked about a reality check. It took me to a time where sprinters, my first week in college, beat me in a 3-mile training run, and it wasn't a race, but it was gut wrenching to me that 200-meter guy could beat me in a training run. And you make the adjustments and you go from there. But since your time at the '96 Olympics, a lot has changed. What do you think about the changes in the Olympics since your time there?
Most of the changes are for the better, but one of the most key components, I think, did a disservice to the Olympic movement. Obviously, the exposure that track and field, and I will highlight track and field because I'm a track and field athlete, but just the Olympics. But track and field is one of the sports that people only watch every 4 years, and collectively, because that's when you're crowned gold medalist, and that's what it comes down to, hardware. The commercial side of it, it's getting us out there, because I get in arguments all the time, or debates. Track and field is the first sport known to man. I always make that known. Without our sport, you will never be able to play football. You'll never be able to play basketball. You'll never be able to play cricket. Mm-hmm. It started from us, and I have to drill that. And some people have to go on and Google that to understand that. And because we are still considered an amateur sport, because there's no draft or T-school you have to go through, anybody can basically come out and say they are a professional track and field athlete. In that sense, getting back to what I think has been lost is the original Olympic movement. The Olympic Committee, IOC, World Athletics have made attending or qualifying or being part of the Olympics as an athlete so far-fetched, in my opinion. I know they want the best, they want to see the best, and I know the audience wants to see the best athletes participate on television every 4 years. But if I can just highlight one of my events, you basically have to be a sub 10, meaning you have to run 10 seconds or faster, 10 seconds flat, in order to just qualify for the Olympics. That's not guaranteed you get in, because they're only taking a certain amount of participants. And if you look at that, if you look at all the countries worldwide's national rackets, it's only a handful of them whose actual national racket is faster than that.
Yeah.
So if you took out of the whole 200 something nations that represent the Olympics, not even a third. I don't know. I'm just guessing whose national racket is faster than 10 seconds. So I understand what they're trying to do. They want the best lineup, but the original movement behind the Olympics is, the gathering of athletes, the fellowship, the countries getting together, for a common cause to highlight the first sport known to man.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
women. Let me get that out there too.
yeah, and I think it's it's the spirit of the Olympics is kind of getting lost where they want to professionalize it, and I think it's a
Yes.
huge debate within track and field fields. Since which that same Olympic experience, you've transitioned into coaching. You're the current Bermuda national coach, and you've had the unique, but I know I can speak for you, proud experience of having one of your athletes compete at the Olympics, being Trey Houston. Speak a bit about your coaching journey.
Trey, like, I'm getting goosebumps right now and a little teary-eyed, because Trey and I's relationship goes deeper than coach and athlete. He was my first athlete when I came back from school and realized I wanted to get into coaching. At the time, I was assisting Mr. Swan, and Mr. Swan gave me the opportunity of using my expertise and knowledge from being an athlete and going through. At that time, I hadn't taken an official coaching course at the time, but I kind of created my blueprint of coaching through Trey. So Trey was my experiment of an athlete, what I experienced as an athlete and what I've read, and from the knowledge Mr. Swan and Simon's passed along to me. Trey and I we perform magic. Since then, has gone off to different coaches and different institutions to train. But whenever he comes back, we always converse about his overseas, what he's doing in training. Whenever he came back, he will always link me, and we'll go through the paces. And sometimes, the program he was in, he would ask me certain things. But to make a long story short, Trey is currently number 2 on Bermuda's books. So he's technically second fastest man Bermuda has had. And we can debate that. I know some older guys in the past state, but that's another issue. Yeah, we've performed magic. We have a serious relationship where I can flip him on and off like a switch. I know him. He's like a son to me. I know when he's been out and I need to curtail the training back. That sort of thing. That's sort of when an athlete and a coach have that's trust with one another. You just feed over one another. And when I got the news that he was going to be an Olympian as well, it was a overwhelming experience, because as a coach, that's one of the highlights of your career, as one of your athletes making it to that level.
Yeah, and it's awesome when you see it flip. I remember when I was in college, my dad knew without even, and we didn't have no Instagram and this what we got. No, he just knew if I had a bad race or not based on how I reached
Right,
out or the
right.
time when I reached out, right? And then when I flipped and I started coaching, you just get it. You're just like, something's up. This is off. Da da da. Come here, talk to me. All right. Well,
Yeah,
I can't give you this workout right now if you're feeling like this. You know what I mean? So it's interesting
exactly.
that you say that. Um, but last year we had the last Olympics. Sorry, we had the unique experience. First time in our history where we have had a gold medalist in Flora Duffy. What does that mean for Bermuda in your eyes?
Ha, boy, um, for me, that's the average person doesn't realize the significance of the achievement of what Miss Duffy has achieved. You know, just not just for herself, but as for a country. You are considered the best in the world, not in Bermuda, not in your parish, not in your region, but in the whole entire world. This 21 square mile, 60 something thousand population little island in the Atlantic has another Olympic medalist, but a gold medalist. And obviously we know Mr. Hill's story. Clarence Hill was our first Olympic medalist, bronze medalist. But for what Miss Duffy had to endure, I can just imagine all the hard work, sacrifice, what went into that.
Mhm.
It's also put Bermuda on the map. And as we all say, we're just a dot on the map. But if we have more people like Miss Duffy, we can make that dot larger. So we are being noticed more now. We're featured on triathlon magazines or tourism magazines. We're getting exposure through NBC and tourism, and that's what it's all about. And if you look at an island like Bahamas and Jamaica, they utilize their athletes as ambassadors for tourism purposes. You know, come to visit where Flora Duffy. This is where she used to train. I remember when I went to the Isle of Man. Those of you who don't know, Mark Cavendish. We went on a tour where Mark Cavendish, one of the greatest cyclists, sprint cyclists in the world. This is where he used to train. This is where it started it all. And it becomes, you know, people come there and it can create an experience. And next thing you know, you're bringing more financial security to the island, as well as, you know, highlighting Bermuda and what we have to offer as a country.
We've got some comments. Audience, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to ask. Media Maya's asking, Mr. Bean, what is your favorite memory from your Olympic experience?
Okay. I have a favorite memory, but I can't say that on air. I can say that to Mr. Marshall and Mr. Hardman, but I actually put it in the comments. In 1996, I had an encounter with Donovan Bailey from Canada, Jamaican born, but he runs for Canada. I was in the 12th heat of the 100 meters. It was 12 heats back then, full heats. So tell you how many people were lined up in Atlanta. Donovan was in the 11th heat. So from the warm-up track to the actual track where the Olympics are going to be participated in, they took out 2 heats at a time. So heat 1 and 2 and out, 3 and 4, and so forth. So the calling for us were the last two to compete, and we're getting ready to get on the bus or the trolley. Oh, actually, it was a bus to take us to the actual Olympic Stadium. And when I entered the bus, and back then Donovan Bailey was the world's fastest man. So it was somebody I watched on TV and looked up to. And I was like kind of mesmerized. That's like Donovan Bailey right there. So anyway, long story short, it was 1 seat left. And it was next to Donovan. And he probably wouldn't remember this, but I certainly do. I went to go sit down beside him. And he looked at me, he gave me this look, and he said, "You can't sit here." And it was like, you know, I was like a little puppy dog. I was 19 at the time, so obviously I was a man. But for Donovan Bailey to tell me I can't sit here because he was holding the seat for one of his friends, Glenroy Gilbert, who was in my heat, but he was taking long to get on the bus. Right there and then is when I realized that my idols, or somebody I looked up to, are just another competitor. They become my enemies now, especially how he delivered. And he probably didn't mean nothing by it, but it was so embarrassing. I just went to go sit down on the chest of the bus like a scolded young child. So that was one of my Olympic highlight of Olympic experience with Donovan Bailey.
I forget Donovan Bailey now.
Yeah, get that guy, but
so basically, when him and Michael Johnson had the sprint off and Johnson pulled up.
Oh yes, I was pulling for Donovan. Boy, I was so happy. I now would like to see an athlete get injured. Yeah, I don't even know if Mike got injured. I think that was like
Right.
He knew.
But I was elated. I was elated when Donovan won that match race, boy.
All right. Maya has the journalist questions are coming, folks. Do you think Bermuda's Olympians are appreciated or recognized enough? Just try and get you in trouble.
No, I'll answer that. No.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Marshall.
I
don't want to dive down that hole, but definitely not. Definitely not. To be an Olympian and what it takes, and it's sort of like the Super Bowl or the NBA championship. You had a lot of great athletes that hasn't won the ring, right? Or even made it there. But for you to actually make it there, I'm going to even include Mr. Marshall, who was one slot shy of making it to that level, to the Olympics. For him for people to look at him as not one of those, like it's gut wrenching, is a punch in the gut in your face, man. But we do not. To put it in layman's terms, I'm gonna put it like this, Mr. Hartman. I've had Dash Track Club for a number of years, and do you know some of the athletes in my club didn't even know I went to the Olympics? Haven't even heard of me.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I don't think we know as a country.
Yeah, we don't know as a country, and I don't want to dive down this hill because Mr. Marshall and I always talk about this. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm just gonna say no, we're not appreciated and recognized enough.
You want to add anything to that, Larry?
I think it's just we as a country don't we see the top, and if you ain't you ain't playing in the NBA, but you went college at D1, like that's very good. We don't appreciate these certain levels, and I think we just view things and think it's easy. And you heard from fans. I remember Bermuda playing Mexico, and you had Harvey Lozano and Hector Herrera playing, and guys, by the guys, I'm saying this guy plays for Napoli, this guy plays for Valencia at the time, and I'm saying the other guy's a part-time footballer. He's doing good, but we only see that you should be the best and not understanding that our best effort is still should be celebrated.
I concur. I think it's almost like we have a tendency to support or recognize what's before us rather than the greatness that's beyond us. And what I mean by that is people, and this is no disrespect to anyone who plays local sports on the local scene, but that's what people get used to when they see it, versus someone who's on, those levels competing in D2 or D1 or even making it to the Olympics. I remember someone telling me, there's a big difference between, 1 second and, 0.5 when you're trying to qualify for this stuff. And it was like, and I learned when I was in graduate school how hard it is. So I get it. Maya has another question. Just piling them on to you, Mr. Bean. She said, are there any Bermuda track athletes you're rooting for to qualify this year?
Definitely. 3 in total. but the person that will most likely get in because of his world ranking and his Commonwealth medal is Mr. Janai Parent Chief. He's not a guarantee, but that's also a story. Janai was one of those athletes, man. Janai Parent Chief, where, you know, he'll come to training with one spike on, one snigger on, lost his spikes, just didn't know what to get with Janai. But over the years, you just saw him grow as an athlete. And I'm so proud of that young man. And his mother, Janita, is his biggest fan. I know he has a big village behind him as well. But definitely Janai. But the person that I really want to see there, that I've seen him got it out, I've helped him along the way, is Dej Minus. Dej was one of those athletes that was talented, but not ultra talented. So his what you see before him is a testament of all this adjective it takes to be a world-class athlete: discipline, hard work, sacrifice, all those adjectives that you could describe. And it's so joyous to see Dej where he is. Those of you who don't know, Dej is the first Bermudian to go sub 4 minutes in a mile. Now that's a big achievement in itself, and a lot of people look at that and say, but I will put a bet out there. I don't have much money, but I bet you can get 4 people right now, right, to go up there and challenge Dej per lap, and you would not beat him in a mile.
We've got to wrap it up. But I want 2 more questions, one from the audience and then one from me, but in the most concise manner. Mia Bean's asking, Mr. Bean, what do you think is needed for us to have our next outstanding track Olympian?
I think we're heading in the right direction in to a sense. I think it comes from the top. I'm going to say it again. If Bermuda is really serious about our athletes reaching optimum performance, Bermuda as a whole has to be on board. I'm talking about all the powers that be. Everybody can't be Front Street. Everybody can be a banker. Everybody can be reinsurance. We've proven time and time again, athletes have been proven that if you invest in this product, magical things can happen, i.e. Florida Duffy, i.e. Janai.
One final question. Gotta wrap it up. Real quickly, what advice would you give to aspiring Olympians who are looking to qualify for the Olympics?
Go for it. I'm going to use the Adidas logo. Impossible is nothing. Think about it. Set goals, set miniature goals and your major goals, and do not let anybody deter you. Like I said, you're going to lose relationships. You're going to skip out on your family cruises and dinners and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, when you're lined up, or if you're fortunate enough to stand on that podium, all the sacrifices will be obsolete. I mean, not obsolete. All the sacrifices will be well understood by the people around you of what it takes to be a great athlete.
DeVon Bean, thank you so much for this conversation. A lot of good information, and I definitely think we'll be in touch over the course of the summer during the Paris Olympics. But thank you for making the time for us, and we'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate you guys having me. Keep doing what you're doing, Mr. Hardman. Accelerate. I'll see you at the track this evening, right?
All right.
All right. DeVon Bean, folks, if you appreciated this morning's conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and wrap it up.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Let's kick it off in the footwear department. When it comes to footwear, we carry functional, comfortable, orthopedic, and waterproof shoes. We have construction shoes, golf shoes, shoes for walking, shoes for boating. We even have shoes for pickleball. We have shoes for everyone. With brands by Skechers, Atrax, Propay, Easy Street, Nursemates, Clogs, Avenger, Cherokee, Cat, Frog Talks, and DeWalt. The list goes on. Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Pair with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can't be stylish and comfortable at the same time? Speaking of stylish, we also have top-quality running, walking, and workout apparel by Skechers in a variety of sizes for men and women. Cool, breathable, and dry. With our wide selection of Skechers footwear, you'll look great before, during, and after your workout. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
You'll be surprised at everything we have to offer at our huge new retail and wholesale location on Bakery Lane.
All right, welcome back. Thanks again to another Bermudian Olympian DeVon Bean for joining us for such an important conversation. Again, if you appreciated the conversation this morning, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share these important conversations with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Thanks again to the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can have these conversations with you on a daily basis. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Larry, it is a name that place. A through F.
C.
All right, C. Before it joined the Union, the Republic of Texas held land as far north as which future U.S. state?
Kansas?
Same answer as Friday's question.
Nebraska.
In the state that ends in G.
Wyoming?
Yep, there you go, Wyoming. It's Wyoming, folks. All right, no one got it. All right, real quickly, let's wrap today's show up, Larry. Final thoughts on the tipping, and then obviously the conversation with DeVon Bean.
Grateful that the legislations come out to protect the workers, and I will continue to tip. As far as the Olympian DeVon Bean, grateful to hear his story, and I hope that this can be shared and we get to know more things, and it just helps with the next generation of future Olympians.
Indeed, I agree. You got to give credit where it's due. If the government believes that's in the best interest of the general public to protect employees who are in the service industry, I'm all for it. My hope is that in a U.S. sense, that people don't have to pay 3 times for something that they just want to enjoy. As far as DeVon Bean, like you, I appreciate him sharing his experience, his story. Hopefully people are, learning and more inspired. I think it's shameful that people will meet him and not know his history in that space. If you're going into track, you should know who those who came before you are. This is a national record holder, I believe, in the 100 meters. So you got some daily inspiration for us, Larry?
I do, and it is from former world record holder in the marathon and 2-time Olympic champion Eliud Kipchoge. Athletics is not so much about legs; it's about the heart and mind.
There you go. The training takes place mentally. Folks, again, if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. Well, as always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we will be back again to do this with you tomorrow. He's Larry Marshall Jr. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.